There are names that tremble in the dark, whispered by those who have gazed too long into the abyss. Baal is one such name. He is not merely a single entity, but a title, a mantle worn by many through the ages, his face shifting like the tide, always where power is strongest, where corruption is deepest. He is the hand behind the throne, the whisperer in the halls of kings, the shadow cast upon the world's great cities. And even now, in the modern age, his dominion is vast. Baal is not a relic of the past. He is alive, woven into the very fabric of modern society. He no longer requires towering ziggurats or sacrificial fires. He sits atop boardrooms, influences governments, and thrives in the subconscious of the masses. He does not demand supplication with bowed heads and trembling hands. He takes his worship in the form of silent obedience, endless consumption, and the quiet despair of those who believe they are free. To know him is to see the world as it truly is. Baal the consumer, the master of flesh and gold. Once Baal's altar stood atop the high places where men and women brought forth their children as offerings, seeking favor, wealth, and power. Today the altars have changed, but the sacrifices remain the same. His temples are no longer of stone and fire. They are built of glass and steel, adorned with the glow of neon signs and the endless hum of transactions. The merchants and financiers are his priests, and debt is the new blood offering. We bow to credit lines, paycheck cycles, and digital currencies, never seeing the chains we have forged around our own necks. We toil beneath the illusion of prosperity, forever chasing more, always consuming, never satisfied. This is Baal's great joke, the endless hunger that cannot be quenched, the illusion of freedom that is, in truth, the deepest form of servitude. Who serves him now? The central banks, the corporations, the predatory lenders, the politicians who weave the laws of economic enslavement, the titans of industry who dictate the rhythms of life, turning labor into worship and wealth into godhood, and the common person who sacrifices, which is the most precious, but shall not be named. Baal the tempter, the seduction of decay. They say Baal-Peor was once worshipped in acts of depravity, where men and women abandoned themselves to indulgence, reveling in excess, discarding virtue for fleeting pleasure. But tell me, have our ways changed? Look around. The screens glow in the night like ancient fires, broadcasting lust, indulgence, and the praise of the unshackled self. The virtue of restraint is mocked. The desires of the flesh are made the highest law. Once the people danced before golden idols. Now they dance before digital illusions, selling dignity for validation, virtue for clicks, and soul for fleeting moments of fame. This is not just temptation. This is a calculated dismantling of the human spirit, a slow rot that begins within and spreads like plague. And all the while Baal laughs, for he knows that a man who kneels before his own desires will never stand against his chains. Who serves him now? The pornographers, the entertainment industry, the music moguls who sell rebellion as freedom, the architects of hypersexualization, those who push the message that nothing is sacred, that everything must be indulged, that there is no higher law than pleasure. Baal the deceiver, the master of lies and thrones. Very few kings upon the earth have risen without feeling Baal's touch. No ruler has taken power without whispers in the dark, without the price of his soul weighed against the promise of eternity. For Baal is the weaver of illusions, the great deceiver, the force behind wars, conquest, and the eternal hunger for dominion. He does not need to rule directly. He teaches men to crave power above all else, and in doing so, makes them his puppets. They think they rule, but they are merely actors in his great play. It is Baal who draws the lines upon maps, who guides the hands that sign declarations of war, who feeds one nation against another, ensuring that conflict is eternal and peace is fleeting. His dominion is not built upon conquest, but upon the lie that conquest is necessary. Who serves him now? The politicians, the warlords, the deep state manipulators, the intelligence agencies that manufacture conflict, those who profit from destruction, who thrive in the shadows of blood and fire, ancient, chaotic, a lineage of lies before thorns lit with fire. Baal worshippers. Knowingly or unknowingly, Baal's greatest trick is convincing people they don't worship him at all, but make no mistake, many today serve him without ever realizing it. The attributes of Baal's worshippers: septum rings and bull symbolism, a subconscious homage to Baal, once depicted as a bull deity; hyper-consumerist lifestyle, living as a cog in the machine, chasing material wealth over spiritual enlightenment; sexual excess and perversion, turning the sacred into the profane, disregarding consequences, often discarding what has been created; obsession with power and status, making social validation and influence their ultimate goal, easily recognized by those who always want to be seen, looked at as important; willingness to sacrifice morality for gain, selling out friends, family, and principles in exchange for wealth or fame. Not all who wear his symbols know who they serve, but ignorance is no defense. What Baal fears: most Baal thrives in ignorance, submission, and indulgence. But what strikes fear into his heart? Those who know his name. Awareness is a weapon. To recognize Baal is to weaken his hold. Self-mastery. A man who rules himself cannot be ruled by another. Spiritual discipline. Prayer, fasting, and asceticism are acts of defiance against his domain. Truth Baal is a liar. Unveiling deception is an act of war against him. How many do you know or have seen on social media or TV who prefer to say lies than speak the truth? The archangel Michael is Baal's greatest enemy, the divine warrior who has cast down many like him. How do we stand against him? Baal's power is only as strong as our blindness. He thrives when we accept his world without question, when we fall into his illusions, when we live as though we are powerless. But Baal's greatest weakness has always been those who see him for what he is. The path of defiance. Withdraw from his temples. Do not feed the systems of debt, indulgence, and deception. Guard your mind. His whispers come through every screen, every promise of ease, every lie dressed as progress. Baal's reign is vast, but no kingdom lasts forever. The old gods tremble, for they know that there are those who remember. Do not fear as the great defender. Michael and his legion watch and listen, as Michael is the warrior who cast down the usurper before, who stands ready to tear down the throne again. The question is simple. Will you still kneel before his throne, or will you be among those who cast it into the fire?